Hello, my name is Josh Hampton,
I'm Kevin Mahoney. Good morning.
and welcome back to Life on Purpose. This is a radio show where we talk to people about their lived experience. Yeah, I think that
In
sums it
general,
up.
yeah.
But yeah, so Life on Purpose is brought to you by a partnership between Asheville FM and Sunrise Community for Recovery and Wellness. Sunrise is a nonprofit staffed entirely by certified peer support specialists who utilize their lived experience to provide authentic peer support, resource navigation, and education to individuals struggling with trauma that often leads to substance use and mental health issues. You can find out more at www.sunriseinasheville.org. So as I mentioned, this is Life on Purpose, and we're back with yet another guest this month. We got Will Price. Will Price with us, everybody.
Hello. Thank y'all so much for having me. This is such a cool experience to be on here with y'all to talk about these things. Just as my friend Josh said, my name is William Price. Basically, I live here in the Asheville area. I'm very big in the recovery community. I'm a person in long-term recovery myself. I work for one of ABCCM's recovery facilities that help men that struggle with drug and alcohol addiction. Very passionate about volunteering and doing different things in the community. So this is just so exciting to be on the radio and talk about these things that can improve people's lives, especially with my good friend here. Thank y'all so much for having me on.
Okay, we're gonna let you talk. We're gonna head out and grab some coffee. And we'll be back in 45. Welcome. Well, I don't know you, but I hope to get to know you better in this next 50 minutes or so.
Absolutely. Got to meet Kevin here and everybody that's in the studio. This is just a surreal experience. One thing I can start off by saying is right here, the location of this radio station just really blows my mind, because I think it was probably 6 years ago, right at the beginning, January 2020, I was right down the street here at a halfway house called New Life.
Okay.
And this halfway house, it cost a lot of money. Whenever I first got out of rehab, I didn't have any money, and this house cost like a lot of money to get into, and I literally got on my knees and I was like, please just let me in. I promise I'll get a job right away, and I'll work super hard, and I'll pay you guys off. And like, guys, I had nothing. I didn't have a cell phone, a car, or anything. I begged these people to let me live with them, and just crossed my fingers, pinky swore that I would pay them back. And now I'm right up the street here on the radio talking about recovery. What a blessing. And it's just phenomenal, the things that recovery can do for someone's life, because every day is such an adventure, and I just couldn't ever imagine when I was sitting in a halfway house just staring at the TV, no phone or anything.
So they let you in. They did let you in. Okay.
Yeah.
How long did you stay?
I was at that particular recovery house probably for a month, and what I did from there, I think I moved into another halfway house, and then another Oxford house, and I started renting a room here. So like, there was a lot of steps to get where I am today, where I live what some people would say like a functioning member of society life, where I got my own apartment and
Really?
actually got a vehicle and things of that nature. Because for me, when I was in my drug and alcohol addiction, it took me to some dark places. I'd lost my license for like 10 years. I was in and out of getting locked up. Man, at some points, I was walking around town with one shoe on.
How long did it take you to get those license back?
Man, what is it called? The bureaucracy, I think is the word for it. The different places. So it's like I owed all this money and I had to show up to all these people. But it's like I couldn't just send the money off somewhere. The courthouse wanted their cut. The DMV wanted their cut. The people that did the classes wanted their cut. And I had to go to all these different places. I live in Asheville. I don't have a license, but they want me to drive all the way to Charlotte to do court. I was like, I don't know exactly how you want me to get down there. But what I had to do was reach out to people in recovery. Somebody that was also in recovery, a good friend of mine. I was so prideful. I didn't know how to ask somebody to take me all this way. I didn't have any money to give them. But all I did was just like share my story, and they like volunteered it. Like, oh, I'll take you down there. And I was just like blown away. Like, what do you want out of this? And I just always remember that my friend told me, well, somebody did it for me. So every time I get the opportunity to help somebody, I always let those words ring in my head, like, oh, somebody did it for me.
Yeah, that's a good way to be, Will. I know there's been plenty of times where I had to humble myself and ask somebody. That is tough. It is tough, especially when you're not used to reaching out for help, for sure.
Yeah, for me, like I said, when I was living that life of drug and alcohol addiction, it was like everybody wanted something from me. You know what I mean? Everybody had the common thing. We had to go get the things that we were using and go do this thing. And you had the car, and I had to know this person and stuff like that. So whenever I was like first getting into recovery and I needed all this help, I didn't have anything to offer. So I thought, oh, I can't ask anybody for help because I'm not going to have anything to offer them. And for me, recovery was just like a reprogramming of my mind and about how things work. And the beautiful thing is, for me, I ended up in Asheville by accident, and this place has such a beautiful recovery for people that like to volunteer and to help and have understanding, especially for the recovery community. So I was just so blessed to end up in this place, and it's like I didn't even know it at first. You know what I mean? It's just like more things were always just kept being revealed to me.
Such a great place for recovery, and like the resources are astounding in this area for sure. But I feel very blessed to call Asheville home now, and to say that I found my recovery here in Asheville also. So what do you feel like has been the most beneficial thing or tool for you in your recovery?
The most beneficial, I would say, a lot of people look at like maybe when I came here at the very end of 2019 and they were like, oh, that's your recovery journey, that's when it all made sense to you. Like, no, the first time that I ever tried to get clean was like 2014, and it took me so many tries. Like I would get like a little 9 months and I'd go back out for a month, and then I would get 6 months, and then you might see me disappear for 2 weeks, and it was in and out. And even though my clean date had changed, all the things that I was learning did not. So it was just important for me to just keep coming back, showing up to different things. Like I went to all the recovery meetings you could think of, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. I did IOP, which is intensive outpatient. I did Celebrate Recovery, go to church. I had to do all these different things and just had to keep absorbing. And even if I slipped up, I just had to keep telling myself, like, I'll be back. And whenever I got it in my head, even if I had a slip up and I went back out of there, I had it in the back of my head, like, one day I'm going to get it. And I had to believe that.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't have to be a complete restart. You know, I think that is crucial, you know, to remember, like, you don't have to go all the way back to zero, to square one, just because you slip up. So, and I had something I was going to ask, and it's a shame I didn't write it down, but I did write down the word unicorns. You want
just expound on that? Yeah, unicorns in recovery.
No, you want to talk about the rap game?
Oh no, they don't want to hear anything about that. Some funny stories about whenever I was younger. Before, like today, I've dedicated my life to helping people. Now I'm a registered drug and alcohol counselor. Very soon I'll test and I'll become an intern. I'm a certified community health worker. Just like my friend here, I'm a certified peer support specialist. I work in recovery. I volunteer in recovery and different things of that nature, helping out with other issues as well, like homelessness and mental health and different struggles that come along with all that. But before I got into this, I had no idea what I wanted to do in my life. I remember at the end of high school, like everybody was going off to college, and like I was excited. I wanted to go off to college, but I had absolutely zero idea of what I wanted to do or what I was going to sign up for. My family, like, manual labor, hard working, a lot of drug addiction and alcoholism in my family. Nobody had ever been to college. Most haven't even finished high school in my family. So I was just like winging it completely. And I remember that I had signed off for like a little community college to do business. That's what everybody did that didn't know. Like, I know I want to do some kind of business because I think that maybe I can make some money if I do business. And what I what I actually, this is a genius plan, by the way. I mean, at least I gave it a chance to follow my dreams. I actually ended up dropping out of college to try to be a famous rapper.
Okay. No, this dude's actually pretty good. Like, I'll look back. I don't know if it was YouTube or on your old Facebook or what, but he's got some pretty good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm excited. That's why maybe I'm doing good on the microphone here at the radio station. Not my first time with the headphones and in front of the mic. For me, you know, back then when I was younger, I just had so much time. When I was recording music and then you do it on like a very high level and you're not like paying money for the engineer and the people that are doing the editing, I had to do all of that myself. So like,
It's a lot of work.
yeah, a lot of people think I just come in and I'm just like, here I am to rap. And then after I do that, like, oh, the song is made. No, you spend all night long staring at the computer screen, listening to the same lines over and over again, doing little edits. And I had a little bit of success. I made a small amount of money. I have songs like and music videos like all over YouTube where like I made a small amount of like money off of like the advertisements they would play. I did probably like 50 shows all over North and South Carolina. And for me, it was going really well, but what the rap game did was it put me a lot into the party scene, which obviously made my drug and alcohol addiction exponential. You know what I mean? It really multiplied it because I was just really starting to party, and you know, I was showing up to shows and like no shape to be on stage, and then eventually it got to the point where I was like not showing up, and I was like, man, it just really took away from everything in my life. I think that, you know, I got the potential to come back with a few more songs. I think I'll probably record and drop some, maybe like with a way more positive message than what I used to have. But it's just, it takes so much time and effort, and it's a lot of work when you're like following your like dreams like this and you're not getting a return. You know what I mean?
Gotta pay the bills.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what a blessing that is. It's, for me, people that meet me today and they see like all the things I do in the community and my job and the kind of person I am, they just like are flabbergasted to know that it is exciting that I can pay my bills. That whenever the auto draft keeps coming out, like I'm
crazy.
The other day I had to take my Jeep into the shop. I thought my starter was bad, took the starter out, popped that thing in, still didn't crank. And I was like, oh, had to go and get another part, an ignition, pop that in, still didn't crank. Had to go back and get the ignition pin, and it still, and at that point it did actually crank, and it took hours and hours. Had to keep buying parts, and you're paying for labor and stuff like that. And for me in particular,
That make you want to cry.
But it's a blessing today because, I mean, whenever I was running around in the streets, like I had like this Hyundai Sonata and I didn't change the oil in it in 3 years. And only by God's grace that thing just kept driving. I was pressing the brake, you could hear the metal grinding, didn't have them. I went one time to go buy the brake pads to put them on, sat on them for about a day, but then the next day I had to get high, went and returned them.
Yeah.
And
I've done
I was
similar
literally,
things.
I was stopping with the handbrake. I was pulling up because the regular brakes wasn't enough, so I took a combination of the two, and I'm in here like wiggling the wheel around, pulling the handbrake, pressing the regular brake at the same time, and I hope that I stop for this red light.
He's not lying.
And that poor car, my grandmother gave me that car, I ran it into the ground.
Yeah.
Driving around, definitely didn't have no car insurance. Tag was like 2 years dead. I was from like Belmont, Gastonia, Charlotte, and they got a lot of main roads and stuff right around there. It's like a city, but like I knew all the back roads, and it would take me so much longer to get places. I didn't have no driver's license. I'm like crawling through the little back roads and different things of that nature just to try to avoid getting pulled over. And for me today, when I look back at those things, it feels like a dream, like it was like some kind of movie that I watched. And like I said, when people meet me today and I tell them those stories, they're just like, how is it possible? And it's recovery. I had to reach out to people. I had to open up to help, and I had to be open-minded because a lot of the things that I was doing, didn't understand, or maybe I didn't believe in, or I didn't think it would work for me. You know, I had one. I'm a professional at making excuses. I had 1 million excuses as to why this isn't going to work for me. But I just, like I said, I had it in the back of my mind. I was going to do it. And finally, when that pain, what is this? How does the saying go? When the pain to change. Yeah, say it for me. Because I'm going to mess it up.
If the pain is great enough, you'll decide to do something different. That's a paraphrase. It's just something I hear from various people. But yeah, that's some real stuff. I wanna back up just a little bit. You kind of threw it out there that you've got a Jeep. Tell me what's up with the ducks. This dude has got a whole dash full of ducks, and I hear it's a Jeep thing, and I still don't understand it.
Did you mean to do the pun there? It's a Jeep thing? Because that's also, like, the saying it's a Jeep thing is a Jeep thing.
Yeah, well, I've seen the sticker. I didn't know how, like, trademarked that was.
I would, trust me.
You owe him 2 cents in royalties.
Yeah.
I would love to stay an extra hour and just talk about Jeep stuff. Mine, I have what's called a Jeep Wrangler. For those who are not super familiar with what exactly a Jeep Wrangler is, that's the one where the top comes off. It's the one that's kind of shaped like a square. Sometimes they call them Jeep Rubicons and stuff like that now. So if you have this particular kind of Jeep, I don't know exactly how she started it. It's actually a pretty recent trend. There's a lady in Canada. Somehow she started a thing where if you own a Jeep Wrangler and you come up, you know, maybe you pull up in the parking lot and you see another Jeep Wrangler sitting there, you get like a little rubber duck, just the same as you would have like in a bathtub. And now they make so many cool ones, like St. Patrick's Day ones, or maybe it looks like Santa Claus, or maybe you get a Green Bay Packers duck.
So
that's what I would get.
No Packers.
Eagles.
It's a whole different show.
Oh, it's got lit now. Things are getting crazy. But what you would do is you pull up to another Jeep Wrangler and you just find a cool little spot to set the rubber duck on. And once you get that rubber duck, you now have to put that in your dash. So a common misconception is whenever people see the Jeep Wranglers, they think like, I have purchased all these ducks, the ducks that I like, and I really like this duck, and I'm gonna put this one here and that. No, it's not like that at all. It's all at the whim of the random person who gives me the duck. So even if I don't like the duck, or maybe they give me a duck of a football team that I don't like, so someone would show up and give me like a Chicago Bears duck, but no, I have a Jeep Wrangler, now I have to put that duck in my windshield, and that's where the real fun comes in.
That's like an unspoken commitment to being the owner of a Jeep Wrangler.
Absolutely. But it's so fun, and now people, like, you know, you'll see people put like, you'll go to these Jeep Fest and they'll mount like a giant rubber duck on the top of them, and it's taken on such a crazy life. But it's a lot of fun. And trust me, I love to have fun with the Jeep. Recently here in Asheville, everybody knows we just had the snowstorm and the roads were crazy. I think it was like Saturday.
Crazy.
Just last Saturday, in my apartments, there's a huge hill that goes up. It's very, very steep that goes into my apartments, and it was iced over. This hill's already slick without the ice. Like, if it's just wet and, you know, you're going down there too fast, press the brakes, you'll start sliding on it. And I was coming back to my apartment on Saturday, and there was 3 vehicles stuck on the hill going into my apartments. And I'm talking about on both sides. There was one on the right, and then another one on the left, and then a little bit more on the right. So they were just stuck and sliding all around that hill. And then all of a sudden they see me just trudging up the hill. Absolutely no issue. Like, 4-wheel drive made me feel so powerful this weekend. With the Jeep, I could do anything and go anywhere. And I just swerved in and out of them, and everyone was looking at me like,
It's looking at you with awe.
I was so disappointed when I seen it start melting, because I was like, dang, I ran this city for like 48 hours. My girlfriend came over, I was at work, and she was like, baby, I'm stuck on the hill. And I was excited. I had to like leave a class and leave at work. I was like, don't you worry, I'm coming to save you.
You had something to do, huh?
She had her park at this barber shop across the street. And sure enough, we just put it in 4-wheel drive, and I just coasted right up that hill with absolutely no issue. I had the Jeep that I have now for like 6 months, and it's the first Jeep that I've had with 4-wheel drive, and it's the first time I've ever like really utilized it, especially in the snow. And I was just like, wow, this is like magic.
You got a winch?
Yeah, we got the winches.
Why
on
weren't
the
you
front.
helping the people off the side of the road then?
So I tried to. What I didn't have was a tow strap. My neighbor had one, and I tried to send him a text, and I was like, hey, can I come over and maybe get your tow strap? What are you doing today? And sure enough, now, this was a Saturday, and it snowed over. It's iced. I have a neighbor that has a tow strap. He's home for the snow day, right? No. Anybody has a tow strap, he's like, we're still going to work today. I'm at work right now. I can't give you the tow strap. I was like, man, it's a snow day. This guy working like 6 or 7 days a week. Even rain, sleet, or snow, you would think he was the mailman.
Yeah. I apologize for setting you up there. I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Pretty skillful.
It's a good setup.
Yeah.
What's the setup just to get me to trick me into talking about Jeep stuff?
No, so I can say, why didn't you help the people off the side of the road?
And here's the funny part. After he said he didn't have the tow strap, I probably spent like an hour after I passed the people on the hill. It wasn't even an hour, maybe like 45 minutes.
Did you feel immense guilt for leaving them there?
I did, and what I did, I texted my girlfriend. I said, I'm gonna go out and try to help the people on the hill. And whenever I went back, I don't even know who came to save the day, but the hill was completely salted and plowed, and there was no ice, and everybody was gone off of the hill. And that's the part where I was hurting, because I was like, oh no, it's back to normal, and now everybody can do all the stuff again, and it's not just me.
You can still do things, Will.
Yeah. For me, it opened my eyes, because I like having the Jeep and 4-wheel drive and stuff like that, but I'll just be like, man, I'm not taking this thing off-road. I love it. I love my Jeep. I'm not going in these dangerous situations. But now that I felt the power this weekend, I'm like, we gotta find somewhere to utilize this some more.
Just take it off-road. So I'm gonna ask you one more thing about the Jeeps, because I'm curious. So I don't have a Jeep, but what if I see somebody's Jeep and I just want to put a rubber duck on the Jeep? Do you have to own a Jeep?
I'll try to circumvent it. I want to relate it back to recovery.
Okay.
When I was in the recovery community, everything they gave me was just a suggestion. These are not the rules that you have to follow. So sometimes with my Jeep, like, I have to make an exception, because obviously my girlfriend likes certain ducks. So if she gives me a duck, then I just accept that as a gift. But I do believe that if you wanted to be super official, it's supposed to be Jeep Wranglers. But sometimes you see a Jeep Cherokee and they'll have ducks. I'm not finna pull them over and be like, remove those ducks immediately. I don't see Wrangler anywhere on this here Jeep. I see him in a Volkswagen Jetta the other day.
Oh yeah.
Maybe they have a Jeep at home.
They could, yeah.
That's one thing where, so say I'm out driving my girlfriend's car. I see a Jeep. I'm like, can I give these guys a duck? What if I tell them in the parking lot I have a Jeep at home? Will they believe me?
Right.
Maybe they'll refuse to accept the duck. They'll be like, that's a poser right there.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Can't take that. Oh.
Sounds like an entertaining thing to take part in.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun. My dad has a Jeep Wrangler as well, and I went down to visit him one time. At the time, I had a Jeep Cherokee, and I drove his, and I took the doors off of it, and we took the top off, and I was just like riding around with the wind in my hair, and I was like, one day I gotta get me one of these.
Did you think when you first came up to Asheville and began your recovery that you'd ever have this Jeep? Like, were you into Jeeps before and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna get me a Jeep, or you just kind of came up on one, it was a good deal, you copped it, and now you're doing the whole duck thing?
I had zero clue. Like I said, I didn't have a driver's license for 10 years, so like I remember like my dad and people be like, well, when you get your license back, what kind of vehicle are you gonna get? I was like, one that runs and is not a complete eyesore. You know what I mean? I just didn't want it to be completely falling apart. My dad was like, you gotta like some kind of car, you gotta have some kind of interest. And I was just like, I have zero. I just need to get around places, and I just fell into the Jeep thing. For me, it's one of the beautiful things about recovery. In my neighborhood, I used to terrorize the neighborhood with the kind of antics I would get up to. You know, if the parents went out of town, a bunch of cars start showing up to the cul-de-sac in the middle of the night. We're having big parties and stuff like that. And they see us running around acting crazy. So the neighbors, like, they used to just couldn't stand me. You know what I mean? They told all the neighbors, they had kids. They were like, you don't hang out with that one.
Stay away from him.
You don't hang out with Will. You don't want to go anywhere near his house because he gets into trouble.
He's going to give you cigarettes.
100%. But after I came to Asheville and I was in recovery for a little while, and people started to see me make these changes, one day when I was trying to get my driver's license, I was trying to save all this money. Wasn't making a whole lot of money. Wanted to buy any kind of vehicle that ran, wasn't a complete eyesore. And I was just like, man, vehicles are so expensive and I don't understand how any of this works. And what happened one night, I can't remember exactly what happened. I think that so the DMV was like, you have to, before I give you your driver's license back, you have to take a driving test and you have to already have your vehicle. In my mind, I was gonna get the license, then the vehicle. But they were like, you need to get some kind of vehicle. And I was like, dang, I don't have the money yet.
So again, we want you to operate a motor vehicle without having a license.
I guess they want me to drive it down there with no license. And then there I take the test and they cross their fingers and hope I pass. Or then I have to drive it back. I don't know. I don't make the rules. I just work here.
Just gotta follow the rules.
But what happened to me, I was just like completely distraught that day. I remember that night, my dad ended up calling me and he was like, the neighbor Donnie, this guy, old army guy, he had 2 daughters. Obviously doesn't want them anywhere near me. I always thought that I was a crazy kid running through the neighborhood, but he'd see me doing good for some years. And he was like, he's got a Jeep Cherokee, and all you gotta do is come down here with $500 and he'll let you get it. And did you see my Jeep Cherokee that I had before?
The first one? Yeah, I remember.
That was a nice Jeep, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Had no dents, wasn't beat up. It was a little older. I think it was like a 2004, but the thing was nice.
Classic.
Yeah. And it's just beautiful. All I had to do was just like keep showing up for myself, you know? And one of the misconceptions I had, like I said, I tried to get clean probably the first time in 2014. And I used to try to do it for everybody else. You know, I had this great vision and plan that if I got my life together, like my parents would get back together and everybody would like me again and everything was going to be, you know what I mean? I just thought everybody else was going to do something different. Just because that I got into recovery. And whenever I did that, it just kept failing. And then finally I decided, I was like, hey, forget what they think. You know what I mean? Maybe they come back, maybe they forgive me, maybe they don't. I have to do this for myself. So whenever I started doing it for myself, I focused on myself and doing what I could do to improve my life. Then people started seeing it and they were like, oh, now it's real. Because, you know what I mean, he's not doing it for any of these outside things. And that's whenever, like I said, somebody just showed up with a beautiful new Jeep for $500. And then whenever I got that one, that's where it started my Jeep love. It already had a sticker on the back that said it's a Jeep thing, and then other Jeep people were like talking to me about the Jeep.
They planted to see you with the catchphrase. Hey, I just want to remind, if anybody's just now tuning in, you are listening to Life on Purpose on Open Air at Asheville FM. And today we are talking with Will Price about his lived experience with faith and recovery.
Yeah.
Back to Will.
Back to Will. What was I talking about? Jeep stuff. And then, like I said, I cruised around with that Jeep. For me, like I said, I didn't have a license for like 10 years. I had the blower in my Jeep. You know, I'd heard so much about them, but I'd never seen one. So I didn't know how the contraption was going to work.
It's a lot, right?
It costs money.
But it's a whole process.
Oh, and it takes work.
Pain.
Yeah, so, you know, I got this thing, I had this thing in my Jeep like 2 years ago. So at one point, obviously I hadn't had a drink in years, so that wasn't an issue. But the funny part is the false positives that you can get from installing one on your vehicle. At one point, I had caught COVID. And what my understanding is that there's Dayquil and NyQuil. Everybody's probably familiar with the medicine. It's a cold medicine. And NyQuil's the one you take at night. And that's the one that makes you go to sleep. And it has alcohol in it. You know what I mean? And that helps you, it loosens up mucus and different things, but it also helps you go to sleep.
Very therapeutic.
So, yeah, NyQuil is the one that has a little bit of alcohol in it. So, of course, it's okay to, if I take this Dayquil and then I go try to start my Jeep, right? There's a little alcohol in both. Yeah, I don't know. It was like 0.01%.
Trying to get you sauce during the day.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's not enough for the thing to go off, but it was like giving me an alarm, like, something's up. I'm not going to start your Jeep for you right now. Try it again in 5 minutes. And the disaster part is it's freezing cold. Then the little blow and go machine goes into this mode for like 5 minutes. And you have to be there to take the I think it's actually 10 minutes. You have to be there in 10 minutes to take the test. So like you don't have an option.
You just gotta sit.
You gotta sit there and wait because you don't want to miss it. You know what I mean? Because if you miss it, then you get an infraction and you gotta pay money, and there's always the chance that they'll be like, no, you failed the program, and then they take your license away again. So I would just sit there, you know, like I said, vehicle can't be turned on, can't warm it up, there is no heat. I'm just sitting there for 10 minutes in the cold parking lot. It's looking crazy. I hope I brought my jacket. Didn't think I was just gonna start this thing right up. And I would just sit there for like 10 minutes and just wait and wait. And it'll do that for a couple different things. Sometimes for chewing gum. For me, never did it with chewing gum. But the way the instruction manual is, it's just like, keep water nearby and swish your mouth before you blow into the thing. By the way, it goes off while you're driving too. So like in the middle of the road, you know, the thing's going off.
Keep both hands on the wheel at 10 and 2, but oh, by the way, do this thing over here.
Yeah, that's how it works. I don't know I don't know what their plan is or how they actually want you to do it. I don't think they care.
I have experience with setting off a breathalyzer having not drank any alcohol at all. And the only thing I can give the credit to is a Red Bull I drank moments before coming in the recovery house I was living at, and there was a person at the desk responsible for giving breathalyzers when you came in after a certain time, and I was having like a low-key freak out, you know, when I found out about it, but it all got ironed out. It was good. So
yeah, some of them are tricky. What we think it is in things like energy drinks, I think it has like a small amount of, I hope I'm not saying the wrong thing, ethanol.
I think so, yeah.
It's like these different ingredients and you see them and they end in like kind of like alcohol, ethanol. You want to be careful with those because they can do different kinds of false positives, and that is such a tricky thing to navigate these days because like I work in recovery, and in the recovery house obviously we have to give drug tests of different kinds to the people that live there, and like you have to have such a knowledge of different kinds of medications because like say you're taking this medication, it might give you a false positive, and then if you don't know what's going on, this person might accidentally get in trouble or even lose their place to live. And that's one thing that I would like to try to help, because there's so many people that want to set up a halfway house but might not have like a lot of that knowledge about how these different things work, because it just takes a lot more than you would expect. I know for 100% fact that probably some people have gotten in trouble or maybe kicked out of their house for like some kind of false positive or things of that nature. And then on top of that, even if everything goes just right, you know, the drug test is not 100%.
They're not always right.
You know what I mean? It's just like a pregnancy test. This thing is not 100%. You bought it at Walgreens. This is not the hospital. And that's, you know, just when I think about little things like that is what makes me want to get into the recovery community. For me, you know, when I became a peer support specialist, it's like, it's a part of the job. Like you have to be recovering from the thing that you're helping out with. So like when I went into becoming a peer support, everybody in there was like, most of the time, like either had like mental health things or drug and alcohol, or maybe you were a veteran. You could be like a veterans peer support specialist. The way it works is if you're a veterans peer support specialist, you are also a veteran. So you know the person that you're trying to help. But then I moved on to like doing community health worker, and there were some people in there that were like with drug and alcohol addiction and things of that nature. But then there was more like what I would say like the quote unquote professionals. That maybe like their family had these kind of issues, or maybe they just were just passionate about this subject but didn't have any firsthand experience. And then when I moved on to becoming a drug and alcohol counselor, I was like, man, I'm like the only one. Because it's just hard to get up to that point. But I feel like it's just so important to have somebody that really lived it every single day, that has that firsthand experience. I hope I can be an inspiration to others. One thing I like to let people know whenever I go to speak places, especially when it comes about with addiction, is for me, whenever I was in the rehab or at the place or at the meeting and I seen the speaker up there and they were telling us about all the lived experience and now I'm the speaker here, I'm the big headliner, I thought they were so special. You know what I mean? I was like, they probably didn't get as high as I did.
Right.
They probably didn't get locked up like me. They probably had a nice family, probably didn't have a poor family like mine. They had some kind of, you know what I mean, set up. I was like, I bet they had already had their college degree and maybe they fell off a little bit of drinking and then maybe they got a little DUI and then they did all this. And, you know, I'm sure they got like some kind of special story. And that's why I like to remind people, like, if you see me speaking or you see me make it to this thing of doing drug and alcohol counselor or any of the things that I do, like, no, like I said earlier, I was walking around town with one shoe on. I had a broken foot. At some points, I was riding around town on a bicycle. I had one foot. You know how the bicycle pedal goes around in a circle? That bicycle pedal on the left side where I had my good foot, it would come all the way back around and I'd catch it again with my left foot and I'd stomp it down and it'd come all the way around. And I was just biking around town. I had one foot.
That's good. That probably took some practice though to get good at that, right?
Oh yeah. But you know, that's what my life was. It was, I was addicted and my life centered around drugs and alcohol, and I had to get it no matter what. Absolutely nothing could stop me. So whenever it came to getting clean or any of the things that I want to do to better my life, I have to chase those things the exact same way. So just know, like, if the Jeep breaks down and I replace 3 parts and it doesn't start, I will be on the bus going to work. You know what I mean? I will get on the bicycle. I have to do it because, you know, I will do it. If I don't do this, if I don't do that in the good direction, I'll definitely do it if I'm moving in a bad direction.
You're gonna go in a direction.
Yeah. And one thing that I like that people say in Alcoholics Anonymous that helps me keep on my toes, that helps me stay vigilant, is a saying they have, you're always moving either further away from or closer to a drink. And that reminds me to never become complacent, to become too relaxed, because if I forget where I came from, I can easily get back into those old patterns of thinking. And that's a thing that I definitely should have brought up before too, because for me, one thing I struggled with is whenever I removed the drugs and alcohol, like, I was still like very rude to people. You know, I was just very mean, hard to get along with. I was at the halfway house. I might have had like 6 or 9 months clean from drugs and alcohol, but I was still going in there shoplifting from Walmart. You know what I mean? I wasn't changing my behaviors. I just removed the thing. And one thing that I had to learn is, if my life centered around drugs and alcohol and chasing it all the time, once I remove that, there's a void. There's a big hole there. I can't just remove it and then just go walking around town and pretend like everything's okay. I have to replace that with something positive, right? I have to, yeah.
Oh, so I was going to say, I think this might be a good segue if you want to talk about how your faith has played a role in your recovery, or if maybe you were going that direction. I don't know.
100%. For me, faith is a huge part. Very active in the church and the Christian community. Like I said, I work for ABCCM, which is a Christian ministry. For me, it really helped me change those behaviors. Like I said, I removed the drugs and alcohol, but I needed a little bit more to change my everyday behaviors and how I saw the world, so that I could like genuinely be a kind person. Because whenever I was out there using drugs and alcohol, I was not in the nice guys club. You know what I mean? I wasn't hanging out with the fun, happy-go-lucky people. It was really hard. You know what I mean? And I had a very, pessimistic, negative view of everything. And what my faith did for me, getting involved in the church, was it really helped me change those behaviors as well. Once I had a good handle on the drugs and alcohol, the one thing I'm always careful with when it comes to faith is, for me, whenever I first came into the recovery community, like all I wanted to do was stop getting high. I want to stop getting drunk, stop getting locked up. If somebody would have came at me and tried to like force the faith on me, it would have ran me away.
Yeah.
And that's just the kind of person it was for me. You know, I was like probably in long-term recovery for about 2 years before I started seeing signs in my life that Christ wanted me to follow him. You know, people started inviting me to church and stuff like that. But I was like, I don't belong. You know what I mean? It'd probably be a good time or whatever. And I was like, I believe in God, but I don't belong in the church. You know what I mean? They wouldn't accept me and things of that nature. But I remember after that happened, man, I started seeing like billboards and things like that. And it was like jumping off to me, and I was like, man, what am I gonna do here? I looked in the mirror one day and I said, you know what, I'm gonna take God seriously. I'm gonna explore this. Because whenever I was a kid, my parents took me to church. I just didn't know what was going on. I didn't understand what was happening. I used to go to play Game Boy with the other kids. You know what I mean? So I knew a little bit about it, but I never gave it a really good chance. But I knew that I needed something more in my life, and it was absolutely the best decision that I ever made. I'm talking about the way God worked for me. I went to church with my roommate that invited me, kept trying to get me to go out there. I started taking it seriously, doing a little bit of studying and reading, and just like that, I went and talked and had lunch with one of my friends, and that's whenever I got the job at ABCCM. And he didn't know that I had started taking God seriously, that I was giving Christ a chance in my life. But it's like, as soon as I gave him a chance, like this door opened and I get to have this dream job. I remember I used to sit in the rehab and I used to hang out with the techs and the nurses and stuff like that. And I was like, man, it'd be so cool to have this job one day where I get to hang out and help people and stuff like that. I could do this. But I was just like, I'll never be enough. You know what I mean? I'm not professional enough. Guys, I'm a drug and alcohol counselor. I can barely write in cursive. You know what I mean? Like, there are some things that I missed whenever I was younger, and I thought that would always hold me back. But as soon as I started giving God a chance in my life, he opened doors for me. You know what I mean? Like, literally, things started just falling into my lap. And some of the things that I would usually let slide, like maybe I thought it was okay if I was at the self-checkout and maybe I let a little bit of this thing fall into the bag. I didn't scan that. Maybe I get mad and I start cussing up a storm and things of that nature. There started to be like that light going off my head, like, you know, this isn't right. You know what I mean? You want to follow me, you got to follow the laws. And it introduced me to people that struggled with all types of different things. What I ended up getting involved in after AA and NA was Celebrate Recovery, which is basically, it's like Narcotics Anonymous, it's like Alcoholics Anonymous, but it's the Christian version. To, you know, put it simply, the 12 steps go through the Christian version. And whenever I went into Celebrate Recovery, I started, it wasn't just about people that were recovering from drugs and alcohol. There were people recovering from codependency. There were people recovering from pornography. There were people just giving up all these different things. And like I said, I'd been in the recovery community for years and years, and I knew a lot about not getting high now.
Right.
But I started meeting people that struggle with these other things, and I realized, like, oh, I need to find recovery from anger. You know what I mean? I need to find recovery from anxiety, depression, these different things that you can come into Celebrate Recovery for. And it really changed my life and perspective. And all of a sudden, like, when I thought I'd like met the max, everything I could learn about recovery and like Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous, which are beautiful. I still go to both things, and I do have to keep thinking about them every day. I needed to keep adding more because I wanted to change those behaviors. And once I changed those behaviors, I started believing like, hey, I am good enough to do these things. Maybe I am professional enough. Maybe I can speak well enough. Like the way I'm speaking right here on this radio station. If I was on here like 5 years ago,
You're doing great.
I would not have anything to say because I just didn't know myself. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. But yeah, the faith thing is so huge in my life, and it's opened me up to do all kinds of beautiful things. Like now, like I love to get up and go to church, but not just go to church. Whenever I get up, I have to send text to people like, hey, do you want to ride? I'll pick you up and take you to the church. Whenever the church has a thing like a volunteering opportunity, you get to go out and just do something completely for free, expecting nothing in return, and just do these good things for people. My family was super excited about it. My mother, my grandmother, especially her side of the family, is big into faith-based and different things of that nature. Just this last Sunday, me and my girlfriend went and volunteered and cooked tacos for some guys at a facility that were staying. And if you know that right there, I could never imagine myself doing that. Not only like maybe 7 years ago when I was in my addiction, definitely not, but even in the first few years of my recovery, because I just didn't know the story of Jesus Christ, which is all about service, serving others, wanting nothing in return, just doing the right thing because it's the right thing. Integrity, like am I always the same person in front of everybody else, or when me and Josh go around the corner, are we over there telling I don't know, naughty jokes or something like that, like water cooler locker room talk? Like who am I whenever I'm around everybody? Am I really that comfortable in my own skin to be a man of Christ in front of everybody? What else is it? And most importantly of all, sacrifice. You know what I mean? I don't make no insane amount of money or anything like that. And I definitely don't come from money. But I still went out, you know what I mean? Spent a lot of money on all the taco stuff, and it was my day off, and I could have just chilled and played Xbox or watched TV or something like that. But, you know, I just felt that calling, the calling of Christ to just go out and serve people and do things for people that are in need, and I love it. You know what I mean?
So you work under the auspices of ABCCM, you work in their umbrella. How would you coach somebody who does not have a faith-based program?
If they have,
or do they have, I mean, is that allowed under your system?
If someone comes into our facility and isn't a Christian or a believer,
Yeah.
100%, we're going to help you all just the same. At our facilities, we've had people of Muslim faith, people that don't believe in God at all. We had a young man in there that was, I don't even know exactly what it was. It was like kind of like satanic. You do like, you know, seance and stuff like that. That's cool. You don't want to, if you don't want to be a Christian or whatever, I'm going to help you exactly the same. Because whenever you're in our program, the most important thing is that we help you with the drug and alcohol addiction. We help you find the stable housing, I can still help you find a job. I can still help you find a doctor. Like, oh, you have a problem with vision, we need to find you vision. You don't have insurance, we need to find somebody that will work with you on that. There's still 1 million things that I have to do in order to improve your quality of life and things of that nature. But just know, like in our facility, if you do want to get involved in a church or anything like that, it's 100% there. But we don't ever have to force that on anybody. And it still works out beautifully. At the facility right now, we have plenty of people in there that's non-believers. The way we do it, we have all different kind of classes. I have like finance classes that might teach you about how to pay bills or do something with the bank account. We got like early recovery classes that go kind of into like the science of how drug and alcohol addiction works, especially in your early recovery. And then we also have groups, Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous. But as well as that, we have faith-based classes like Bible studies and different things of that nature, like discipleship classes. If you come into our facility at the beginning, you have to go to all the classes except the faith-based ones. Those are the only classes we will not force you to go to, because if you do want to come to Christ, and like I said, if somebody would have came to me whenever I was in my first year of recovery, was like, Christ is Lord, I'd have ran away. You know what I mean? I'd have been, I don't know if I believe in this. Do I belong here? So whenever you, like, if I want someone to come to Christ, you want them to come willingly, of their own volition. You never want to force it, or like use it to wag the stick at somebody, or I'm over here slapping Kevin and Josh with the Bible and be like, no, that's absolutely not.
Stop slapping me.
In the Bible it says, if you catch somebody in a sin, or if you want to help somebody with a hurtful behavior, you want to restore that person gently. You know what I mean? You don't ever want to use the Word of God as some kind of weapon against somebody to shame them or guilt them or anything. About it. Exactly what Jesus came to do was to remove that. You know what I mean? His blood covers our sins, to remove the shame and guilt. Like, hey, just admit that you have a problem, turn away from it, and you're good. You know what I mean? I had a problem with drug and alcohol addiction. I did some bad things. I stole from places and got locked up, and probably got into fights and different things like that. But I admitted that I have a problem, and I became willing to do whatever it takes to change my life, so I don't continue to hurt people, continue to hurt myself, to be just to become a productive member of society. I turned away from that, and it was all good. Sometimes that shame and guilt will just keep you there for just so long, and that can be hurtful.
Can I ask a quick question about the Veterans Restoration Quarters? I have not been out that way in months. How's it looking?
At the VRQ, it's tough. So the VRQ is our Veterans Restoration Quarters. It houses 200 veterans. It's a completely free program. It's the first living program where people could go and live that ABCCM started. And what happened was, during Hurricane Helene, it's in a low part of town in the Swannanoa area, so the complete first floor, everything that was on the first floor got flooded. The facility is closed, and it's in bad shape.
And they had just rehabbed it.
Yeah, well, we were in the middle of renovating it and fixing everything up and changing different things of that nature. They didn't get too far, thank God, because then God came through and renovated it himself. And what we got now, with the help of FEMA, and we're also, ABCCM is over Veterans Affairs in all of North Carolina, so they get money from the government to help out the veterans and different things of that nature. And we've put them in different hotels that are nearby while we're fixing up the VRQ. They kind of wanted to maybe build another facility, but it's so close to the VA, they want it to be right there so the veterans could like walk to the VA if that was necessary. So just know that we're working on it, rebuilding it, and though it got destroyed, we were already renovating it because it was getting dated anyway. So now, you know what I mean, we just had we just got some extra mud to shovel out from some of the rooms. But the veterans are now in different hotels and things of that nature. We're still taking care of them, and if you wanted to be to get into the VRQ and you were a veteran, you can still call up there and get approved to become a part of that program.
What's the newest ABCCM initiatives? Is there anything brand new off the? I heard they were building some new buildings over in Brevard Road.
Yeah,
administrative, a pretty $1 million complex, wasn't it?
Yeah, so ABCCM's always got new things that's coming up. We're always building like different things we have like call centers for people to call them and help, and then like if you have like a power bill that's past due, you can call and we'll be able to help with those different kind of things. We just recently built Transformation Village, which is for women and children, houses like 200 women and children, and now we're building houses that the women and children can move into afterwards, like a recovery house, because like right now it's like a closed program, like strict.
Same area, right next to it.
And so we want to have like houses for them to be able to move in there, because it's like a 2-year program, so after that we want you to have somewhere to go. So always building and doing cool new things with ABCC, and we have many facilities that give out clothes and food and different stuff. I couldn't even name you everything that ABCCM does. They just got so many different things going on.
So they're over Veterans of the Carolinas now?
Over Veterans Affairs, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, look, I hate to do this, but
that went fast.
Yeah, it did go fast. Will, I really appreciate you coming on the show, sharing about your recovery journey, your faith. I was supposed to throw this in at the beginning of the show, and I dropped the ball, but so although this is partially brought to you by Sunrise Community and Wellness, the views and opinions that are reflected in the show do not directly reflect Sunrise as an organization. I fumbled the words up in there, but y'all know what I mean. Yeah.
thank y'all so much for having me. I will be back anytime, and I really appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Will.